He is now the president of New Zealand Cricket. Paddy, great to see you. Doing well?
Thank you very much. Thanks for that lovely introduction. I'm excited to be involved. It's very much an ambassador's role, promoting the game, and New Zealand cricket in the last 10 years, from what I've seen, has been very positive, and a lot of good stuff's going on around the game, and not just at the top level, but the growth of the game for boys and girls in this country. And I'd like to be part of it and just involved with it, and I think it'll be a fun time, and really looking forward to it, and watching a bit more cricket than I have done in the last period. And watching Test cricket and the ebbs and flows. I've been lucky enough to sit next to Sir Richard for the last few hours, and he said this is the character of the game, and it is, and it's about all the skills you need. You need skill, you need patience, you need a bit of courage, and it's nice to see. It doesn't happen at 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time, but it can still be interesting and fun to watch.
Paddles would have gone all right in that surface, I reckon.
Goodness me. I think we bowled pretty well. I mean, they were tough. Well, 2 of the 3 were probably tough catches, leg side. You're blinded there. They're not easy. And, 4 or 5 down at lunch would have been probably what they were looking for. But the West Indies have fought hard and had a bit of luck, and the Test is nicely poised.
Yeah, it is very nicely balanced. You've achieved a whole heap as a player, coach, selector. What does it mean to be named president? Was it a pretty proud moment?
It was an honour to be asked, and it was 4 or 5 months ago that I was asked. So it took a little while to sink in and speak to a few people about the role and what it entailed. And I was lucky enough, through Lesley Murdoch and a few others who've had the role, and some people I admire and respect, thought that I could actually contribute a bit. And, I said yes, and obviously I've only just started. And I just was looking forward to being involved and seeing what I can do to help. I was watching some schoolboy cricket in Queenstown. I'm based in Queenstown now, so I was watching a couple of schools play a 2-day traditional match, which I loved. And I help a little bit out there with local high schools now and again, which is nice to do, to sort of add a little bit of experience. And my skills are coaching and talent IDs, so hopefully I can watch it in a relaxed fashion and talk to parents and just get the pulse of the game, I suppose. So that's pretty important, that the stakeholders we're communicating with positively, and sometimes you have to have some robust discussions, but that's really healthy for our game, because in the end you want the best for New Zealand cricket, and those decisions are made obviously at various levels, and but really important. I think there's some exciting options going forward in this game for the legacy of New Zealand cricket, and it'll just take a little while to digest and do the DD and make sure that they get the right decision for it.
Yeah, some big decisions need to be made in the immediate future. I'd like to go back to where it started. Where did it start? When did you pick up a ball or a bat in anger?
Well, Cornwall Park, Auckland, long white shorts, long white socks, when we were probably 5. And, I always loved going back to Cornwall Park, because that's where it all started for me. And, I was lucky enough to meet one MD Crowe back then, and we had a lot of fun, and the passion for the game, the love for the game, and Adam Perori played there. A lot of friends I still associate with played junior cricket in Auckland and for the clubs, and I'm 61 now and lucky enough to be able to pop around the country and catch up with great friends, and because of the game.
MD Crowe, pretty good friend to have.
Yeah.
Pretty talented athlete.
Yeah, he was exceptional. He was hard to follow at school.
Almost impossible.
I was telling some people the other day that we used to play the first 11 at Auckland Grammar. On a Saturday we played the senior reserve grade club cricket, because we were pretty strong, and it was probably 5 years before that when Jeff Crowe was captain of Auckland Grammar. So we came along and we were playing senior men at senior reserve level, and it was great for our cricket. It was tough, but it was really good for our cricket because we got extended. And there was the odd word or two, particularly when Martin would get 260 in a day. I'd get 50 not out batting at 7, wicket keeping when I was 15, and the opposition were chasing 480 the next Saturday. They didn't like that against young schoolboys, I can tell you that.
He was always destined for greatness. Did you always feel you were destined to play first-class cricket, Test cricket?
I had a passion for the game. I had a period, I went to England after I left school, so I started playing cricket 10, 11 months of the year.
Yeah.
And that started to reap some rewards. When I lost a bit of weight, I went on a Contiki tour with a friend from Cornwall Cricket Club. He was a little bit older than me. I think he was outside the age of 35, but we managed to get him in, and we went around Europe for a month, and we ran every day. And I got fit. I lost a lot of weight, came home. I'd shifted to Central Districts to Hawke's Bay and played for CD, and I got 300 or 400s that summer playing first-class cricket. And that was the change for me, you know, the level of performance. And then I was lucky enough to, you know, at that time to make the New Zealand side.
Not a bad Test debut, right?
Yeah.
Not the most baseball Test match.
No.
Now, was it against England? We're talking about 87, 88. It
was.
100 in the third innings. It didn't even get to the fourth innings.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was a bit slow, pedestrian. But it was wonderful, but it was also sad because Jeff Crowe was my first New Zealand captain that Test. And the next Test he was dropped.
Right.
And I felt so bad because obviously I'd got 100, so I got selected. But the neat thing is that we reconnected with Jeff. Well, I reconnected with Jeff further down the track when he got picked again. And I've been lucky enough to continue to know the wonderful Crowe family through Jeff and Audrey, who lives here in Christchurch, and Deb's, his sister. So, you know, it was very sad to lose Martin, but it's nice to be able to have that friendship continue.
Great leader, Jeff, wasn't he?
Yes, very good leader, tough. We used to have Friday night meetings at the Albion Hotel where we would have a strategy meeting.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Then you'd have a red steak, medium rare steak with red wine, and then you'd forget about the team meeting, you know, at about midnight, and then go home and play cricket the next day. But there was a good starting in senior club cricket out of school.
It's a wonderful start to your Test career. Soon after, of course, that heroic effort against Australia at the WAC. How long did you bat for to save the Test?
I spent 29 out of the 30 hours on the pitch.
Oh, wow.
Because Australia got 500, so we fielded for a long time.
Yeah.
And I batted 3 in that Test, both inningses, and there was about an hour where I didn't actually bat in both inningses. And I was in Brisbane last week, and I was lucky enough to catch up with the great Alan Border and had some time with him after we had a hailstorm when we were playing golf. So golf was curtailed, but we were having a glass of red wine, and he said, "Gosh, I remember how boring you were in Perth." And I said, "I remember you getting quite grumpy with your bowlers because you couldn't bowl us out." I said, "We were without the great Richard Hagley,
yeah,
Andrew Jones and John Bracewell. So we were without 3 of our best players. And but we managed to somehow draw that Test. Was like a win, really.
Yeah, I bet it was.
And that summer, they came to New Zealand for a one-off Test match. So we played 2 Test matches, one in Perth in November and then February at the Basin, and we beat them at the Basin. So I said to AB, you know, I won a series against you guys. He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "It was only 2 Tests." I said, "Well, it was 1-0, wasn't it?" But it was lovely seeing him. He's going through a challenge health-wise with his Parkinson's, but he's doing so well. You know, he played golf, he mixed and mingles, we had a glass of red wine, and he started telling some great stories.
What a player.
He was. If you wanted someone to bat for your life, I reckon he's up there.
He carried that Australian side through the mid-80s. That they weren't a strong outfit. But playing in Australia, it is an incredible Test, isn't it? And it seemed like you were always up for the fight. I remember a one-day series, and almost like you were deliberately throwing the ball back to around the batsman.
Around the batsman, back to Stockley. I always had a good target with Stocks, though he was very slim in those days, and he, you know, but he always liked the ball back, and so, you know, I threw a few back, you know, just to make sure the Aussies realised that we were in the game. So,
is it important to have that abrasive attitude, you think, when you're playing Australia and Australia? Because you know that's what they are.
You got to combat. You got to get in there. And you do that in different ways. You know, it depends on your personality. We had some quite quiet guys, and I think by default, I was the one that had to say the odd word. But funnily enough, in that Test in Perth, I didn't say a word for the 5 days. And I got quite a bit of stick from Steve Waugh. And I took it, and in the end, thankfully I was still batting after 10 hours and 55 minutes in the second innings when we drew the test.
11 hours.
So I made sure when I shook all the hands, AB, Murph Hughes, Alderman, Mark Waugh, who I got on well with, and I made sure Steve was the last one. And I went, thanks. And he'd called me something for the whole game, and I mentioned that word, which I can't mention on radio, obviously, but he objected to it. I said, hang on a minute, you've just been telling me that for 5 days. So he got a little bit titchy, and thankfully AB pulled him into line, and we had a drink afterwards, and, I got 2 pages of his 800-page autobiography.
Oh, did you just?
Dedicated.
Wow.
He got the facts wrong quite a lot. I sort of wanted to speak to his editor, but I've seen Steve since that, and it's nice to. I mean, interesting. When I played him in that era, in the late 80s, he was struggling as a young player in Australia, in the team. He got dropped, and then he went away, and then he became one of the great players. He was averaging 25 in late 80s, and then he came back.
And after a substantial amount of tests, and ends up averaging over 50.
Yeah, so he must have averaged 70, 80 in that middle period.
I think Sean has just texted in saying Alan Border wasn't a player, he was a fighter. You could say that about Steve Waugh. Absolutely cherished his wicket.
Steve became like AB, actions, the way he played. It wasn't always pretty to watch, but again, the characteristics of Test cricket, that courage and never giving it away. AB created that legacy for those teams over the next 20, 30 years from what he did as a leader and a player.
Yeah, great test, and New Zealand cricket fans are so excited already about next summer and 4 tests over there. Mark Greatbatch is our guest, former player, coach, selector, and now president of New Zealand cricket. I'm a commentator. You had an interesting relationship with the Australian TV commentators, didn't you? I do remember a stunning one-handed catch.
Yes.
You may have caught a bit like the team today earlier in the test.
Yes.
It was you who took that catch and then turned around and motioned. Is that a delicate way?
Well, the background to that was we played in Hobart, and Hobart, for people who knew that wicket back in the day, it was quite skiddy and low. So you always had to, at slip, you always had to be 2 or 3 yards up. And you based it on where the keeper was, where Smithy was, and we dropped a couple in that test. And I remember Bill Laurie absolutely slating us. He just no whole, useless, waste of time. Anyway, so Kenzie was bowling. It was late on the first day at Brisbane. We had one slip, and I think it was the last 10 minutes of the day. And Mark Waugh slashed at one, and I've sort of jumped. I think I got off the ground because I wasn't that light, but I dived and caught it behind me and grabbed it. And for some reason, I made reference, and everyone thought I was saying it to Tony Gregg, but it wasn't to Tony. It was to Bill. And
let's get that on record.
And the next day, when we were warming up down by the pavilion, Greggy came by and he said, "Good morning, Batchy. How you going?" I said, "Thanks, Tony. Say hi to Bill from me." So, I don't think Richie was very impressed with me that day. I think he used that silence. I think he said, "I'm not sure what he was doing there." And then he had that beautiful silence, as Richie did.
He spoke volumes with saying nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I was just sort of saying we can catch now and again, but it would have been nice if we picked a couple more up there just before lunch, But as I said, it's Test cricket. It's a battle.
Will writes, "Congrats, Paddy. Do you still have the 1992 World Cup Stuart Surridge in the wardrobe?" We've talked about obdurate, fighting knocks, but of course I think you were the first New Zealander to score back-to-back one-day international hundreds in the UK. You had so many great moments, but that 1992 World Cup run, the unexpected run, cuts deep into the heart of New Zealand cricket fans. What was that ride was like? Because you sat and watched the first game, didn't you?
2 games, and I only played because Righty got injured. But
although Wally tells us it was all part of his plan to give you a go at some stage.
Well, maybe you could ring in and we could have a 3-way conversation
He'll be
about
listening.
it. I mean, obviously it's a long time ago now, so the memory. But I do recall I was playing so badly, hence I wasn't playing the team. I was in the squad, but. I went out and had a session having a bat, and Hogan just came down and Martin just came down and said, "Jeez, you're batting so badly. I said, I do know that. Thank you.
I'm well aware.
He said, just free your arms and just relax. And anyway, so they gave me an opportunity, and there was a fair bit of risk involved with it. But interesting enough, we went from the average scoring rate back then was 3 and over for the first 10, conserve wickets, and then we went to sort of 6 or 7 and over, which everyone thought was like through the roof.
We got 115 overs.
Now that's exactly.
Yeah.
So, but what it did, because Rod Latham started playing positively, but when we got away to a decent start quickly, it enabled Jones, Crowe, and Rutherford to have a few more balls to get in. And they had really good World Cups, those guys.
Did.
They created partnerships, and so that was the benefit of it. And it was a lot of fun. I recall, the most thing I recall is going around the country. We'd fly into various places, and the buzz, because we were winning, and it was our World Cup along with Australia, there was just this buzz in the country, and obviously it ended up in tragedy, which sometimes sport can do. But
the best of times and the worst of times.
Exactly. And thankfully our guys have gone on, and girls have gone on to, get to finals, and probably should have won a final at Lords, and the girls won a 2020 last year. So the modern day teams and players now are, really, really playing dynamic cricket, which is nice to see.
Hitting, was it Richard Snell on the roof?
No, I'd like to think it was Richard Snell, because he bowled quite quickly.
He was quite quick.
It was Adrian Caper who bowled about 110
No, that's right. Well, okay. He was 130 that day. Yeah. Charging Malcolm Marshall.
Yeah. That was silly, but I think he said, next time you do that Greatbatch, I'll kill you. Said, don't worry, I won't do it again.
Luckily it was Malcolm 1992, maybe not 1984. We probably could have.
Yes, yeah. And overnight we've had a sad passing of Robin Smith, Judgy. Wonderful man. I was so lucky to play in his era, because he made you feel so welcome. Normally when you go out and play international sport, it's quite uncomfortable, but I'd walk out to bat, mark my centre, and Judgy would be at short point going, "Morning, Batchy, what'd you get up to last night?" He was so lovely and friendly. There was not an ounce of anger in his, and then he played the way he batted.
Well, you bowled short wide to him. Oh my Lord, he'd destroy you.
One of the greatest cutters in the world. And I played a few second 11 games against Hampshire when he was young, and I used to field at gully, and I used to go back 10 yards. I was frightened at how quick the ball was coming. It was just, he just had, he had forearms strong. He was a strong guy, and he used to, it was like chopping wood. But, very sad. And Alan Lamb, I sent a note to Lammy because he's a great mate of his, and, the great thing is Gladstone Small and Lammy have been in Perth the last couple of weeks with the test, and they saw Robin, and he was in good form. He was good company, and he was involved with the cricket community and caught up. But very sad. So feel for his family and friends at this time.
Yeah, well said. I'm glad you raised him. He will be sorely missed, and I'm sure you'll raise a glass of red wine next time.
Definitely.
You can. Is that the thing you miss the most as we wrap this up? The fraternity, is the relationships, the competitive element. All high class athletes love that, but is that the thing you sort of the disconnect away from your mates over the years? Yes, it must be harder to keep in contact.
Yesterday, Dion Nash and Chris Cairns and I were going, how the hell could we go and play that level of cricket? Not now, but did we play at that level? And whether we did or not, we don't know. But that the guy who was bowling from this end yesterday, he was bowling very good quick wheels. So the competitive edge is part of it. But we had dinner last night with a few guys, and it was nice. It was catching up, telling stories, telling half truths. Some people remember things better than others.
Smith and Coney are still doing that in the box with us.
And I hope in the next 3 years, when I get round and the traps a bit, there'll be a really good opportunity to catch up with guys I play club cricket with, first class cricket, and obviously international cricket. So that'll be a fun part of it. We try, and our group try and keep together. We communicate via text, which you can now. We play golf a bit, but we're all doing different things, and we're all getting a bit older. And Smithy's a grandparent now, and so it's just nice to catch up. And I think for listeners, I think there was some suggestion I was trying to buy the commentary team yesterday with coffees. Garth Galloway actually bought the coffees, but I delivered them. I did try and pay them for them.
You did offer that.
Garth,
that was very kind. But the lawyer did clarify that, unlike Garth. So you're in the clear. Paddy, whether it's saving test matches, hundreds on debut, back-to-back one-day hundreds, the roller coaster and wonderful ride that 1992 is, on behalf of the New Zealand cricket community, thank you so much for all of those memories, but the passion is clearly strong. And hope you enjoy this ride as President of New Zealand Cricket. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.